we now proceed our discussion on discrete probability distribution. So recall in the previous lesson that we have classified your random variable as either discrete or continuous. Okay, so in this lesson we will define what is a discrete probability distribution. Okay, so a discrete random variable assumes each of its values with a certain probability. Okay, so when we have a discrete random variable, okay, your random variable assumes a certain value. Ngayon, there is a certain probability, okay, that your random variable would assume such value. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin natin dito. In the case of tossing a coin 3 times, okay? So, in the case of tossing a coin 3 times, so the variable x, okay, representing the number of heads, okay? So, assumes the value 2 with a probability 3/8. Okay? Since 3 of the 8 equally likely sample points results in 2 heads and 1 tail. Okay, verify natin yan para mas malinaw sa atin. So, if we are to toss a coin 3 times, okay, ito yung magiging sample space natin. Okay, so the sample space, so tossing a coin 3 times. Okay, so these are the this will be your sample space, no? So, maaring sa una, tail, sa pangalawa tail, and then pangatlo tail, okay? And then we'll have tail, tail, head, tail, head, tail, tail, head, head, okay? Then head, tail, tail, head, tail, head, 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 tail, and head, head, head. Okay? Now, let us have our x, random variable x, to be the number of heads in each sample point. Okay? So, which means that our random variable x represents the number of heads that we will obtain when we toss a coin 3 times. Okay? So, in this case, ang possibilities, okay, so your x can assume a value of 0, okay, kasi wala talagang head na lumabas, a value of 1, okay, a value of 2, and a value of 3. Okay? So, in this case, yung number of occurrence nun, okay, the number of occurrence nun, n of x equals x, okay? So, it means the number that your x would assume a value x, okay? So, the number of your random variable assuming 0 value, ibig sabihin 0 head, is 1. Yun, is 1. Okay? So, the number of your random variable assuming a value of 1 is 1 head. So, that's 1, 2, 3, 3. Pag 2 naman, okay? So, this is 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then, pag 3, so, merong 1. Okay? So, there. Ngayon, tingnan natin that the total number of outcomes, which means the total number of elements in your, or the total number of your sample points is 3, 6, 8. Okay? So, ngayon, if we assume that this coin is a fair coin, okay, then each of these sample points has an equal probability of occurring. Okay? So, equal yung probability of occurring niya kapag fair coin yung ginamit natin. Okay? So, we can now write the probability of your x assuming a certain value, okay, of 1/8, okay, para for your x to assume a value of 0, 3/8 for your x to assume a value of 1, okay, 3/8 for your x to assume a value of 2, and 1/8 for your x to assume a value of 3. Okay? So, ito ngayon actually tinatawag nating probability distribution. Okay? Excluding yung column dito sa gitna. Okay? Yan. Yung nakikita nyo dito table na to. This can now be considered as a probability distribution. Okay? Or discrete probability distribution. Ngayon ito yung sinasabi nung example. The example here states that assumes the value 2 with a probability 3/8. Okay? So, if x would assume a value of 2, ito. If x would assume a value of 2, the probability of that happening is 3/8. Okay? So, since 3 of the 8 equally likely sample points result in 2 heads and 1 tail. So, kung titingnan nyo sa sample points, 1, 2, and 3. So, there are 3 possible outcomes that would result to 2 heads. Okay? When you toss a coin 3 times. So, ito yung sinasabi ng example. Okay. If one assumes equal weights for the simple events in example 3.2. Okay. So, this is example 3.2, binalik lang natin. The discussion states that if we assume that Smith, Jones, and Brown has an equal probability of getting their helmet correctly, okay, then we can say that this the sample points in your sample space have equal probabilities as well. Okay, so which means that again, kung equal yung probability ni Smith, ni Jones, at saka ni Brown to get their correct helmet, okay, then this sample points would also have equal probabilities. So since there are 6, okay, there are 6 sample points in your sample space, okay, then each of the events, each of the outcomes, or each of the sample point would have or would happen on a 1/6 probability. So 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. Okay? And so on. Now, if we assume here to have a variable m, okay, to have a variable m which denotes the number of correct matches, okay, then if your m, okay, if your m assumes a value of 0, okay, then meron siyang the probability that your m would assume a value of 0, okay, would be 1/3. 1/6 plus 1/6. So that's 1/3. Okay. While for your m to assume a value of 1, that is 3/6 or 1/2. Okay. And finally, for your m to assume a value of 3, okay, that would be 1/6. Okay. So again, yung nakikita nyo dito is actually the discrete probability distribution for this scenario. Okay? So, ito yun, yung nakikita nyo dito. 1/3, 1/2, tsaka 1/6. Okay? Now, note that the values of m exhaust all possible cases. Okay? And hence, the probabilities add to 1. Take note na pagka in-add natin yung mga probabilities na nandun sa probability distribution ninyo. Say for example, this is 1/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 1/8. So yung summation of the probability that your x assumes a certain value, okay, for I equals 0 to 3, okay, is equal to dapat 1. Pag in-add natin ito. Okay, same thing with this one. Okay, if we add the probability that your m assumes a value mi, okay, for I equals 0 to 3. Again, yung 2 naman kasi would have a probability of 0. So we can simply add, or we can simply ignore that kasi nga 0 naman yung probability that your m would assume a value of 0. So this is simply 1/3 plus 1/2 plus 1/6, or simply 2/6 plus 3/6 plus 1/6, or 6/6 equal to 1. So again, yung sum of probabilities dun sa probability distribution nyo is equal to 1. Okay? So frequently, it is convenient to represent all the probabilities of a random variable x by a formula. Okay? So we can express these probabilities, okay, using a formula, if it is possible. Such a formula would necessarily be a function of the numerical values of x that we shall denote by f of x, g of x, r of x, and so on. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, we will create, okay, or we will create an expression, or it is possible that we will be able to create an expression, okay, that results to the probability, okay, results to the probability of your random variable assuming a certain value. Okay? Say for example, if we take a look at this one, okay? We can use f of x, okay? We can use f of x to denote that distribution. Okay? Yung f of x dito would be called a distribution or probability distribution. Okay? But remember that when we use, or when we write a formula or an expression for f of x, we take note that this f of x should equal the probability, okay, that your random variable x would assume a certain value. Okay? So that is, dapat pag sinubstitute natin yung 0 dun sa function na yun, okay, that should equal to the probability of your x assuming 0 as a value. Or if if we evaluate f of 1, that should result to the probability of your x assuming a value of 1. Okay? So the set of so itong formula na to is possible, if it is possible na natin siya, makapagsulat tayo ng ganitong formula, then mas maganda. Okay? Although sometimes especially sa discrete case, or sa discrete sa discrete probability distributions, we usually leave it at to the table. So parang may table, nilalagay lang natin siya, or dinedenote lang natin yung probability distribution natin, or yung discrete probability distribution natin on a table. Okay? So the set of ordered pairs x, f of x, okay, is called the probability function, okay, or the probability mass function, PMF. Ito yung mababasa nyo sa mga libro na PMF, okay, or the probability distribution of the discrete random variable x. Okay? So those are the terms, okay, that we use to refer to this ordered pair or the set of this set of ordered pairs. Okay? So, the table itself actually denotes that set of ordered pairs. Okay? Actually, ito na yun. Palitan lang natin ng f of x ito. Okay? If we actually replace this with f of x, okay? We replace it with this small x. Yeah. This one is the probability distribution of the random variable x already. Okay? Kasi ito na yung set of ordered pairs. Ito na yung ordered pair na 0, 1, 8, 1, 3, 8, 2, 3, 8, 3, 3, 8, 3, 1, 8. Okay? Yun. Ito na yung probability distribution natin. Okay? So we define now, okay, this set of ordered pairs as the probability function, probability mass function, or probability distribution, okay, of the discrete random variable x if for each possible outcome x, okay, the value of your function is positive, okay, meaning it's probability, so that should be positive, okay. The sum of the values of your function is 1, okay, pinakita natin yan kanina, and that the probability or that the function value, okay, is equal to the probability of your random variable x, assuming a value x. Okay? So, yun. So, if we are able to write that f of x, that's okay. Okay? Pero kung hindi naman, again, we can leave it to be expressed as a table. Okay? So, let's have example 3.8 now. So, a shipment of 20 similar laptops, okay, laptop computers, to a retail outlet, okay, contains 3 that are defective. Okay, so doon sa 20 na laptop that was shipped to a retail outlet, tatlo doon is are defective. Okay, so now the school would now purchase dun sa retail outlet. Okay, and the school would purchase 2. Okay, of those computers. So the question is, find the probability distribution for the number of defectives. Okay, so yun. Here, we will let x to be the random variable, okay, whose values x are the possible number of or the possible numbers of defective computers purchased by the school. Okay? So since dalawa lang naman yung bibili ni school, okay? It is possible that your x, okay, your school can buy or would buy 0 defectives. Okay? Maaring 0 dun sa dalawang binili nila, walang defective dun. Okay? While maaari din namang may isang defective dun sa nabili nila. Okay? May isang defective dun sa nabili nila. Or maaari yung dalawang nabili nila is defective. Okay? Now, our objective is to find the probability distribution of this. Okay? Yung f of x nito. Okay? So, how do we find that? Okay? So, ganito. First thing, since this is a probability problem. Okay? We attack the problem this way. Okay? So, dito muna, no? Under kasi to ng problem na the probability of say for example, choosing a defective laptop okay, equals number of i-count natin siya against the number of ways we choose 2 laptops, okay? 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? So, yun yung parang denominator natin. The number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? So, yung numerator dito actually counts the number of ways we choose one kung isang defective laptop yung hahanapin natin the number of ways we choose one defective laptop out of 3. Remember na meron tatlong defective dun sa 20 na yun. So, may tatlong defective dun sa 20 na yun. So, kung makakabili tayo ng defective, okay, makakabili tayo ng defective, okay, or kung pipili tayo kung mamalasin tayo na makakabili tayo ng isang defective, then we have to count the number of ways we choose one defective laptop out of the 3. Okay? And then, kasi may isa pa tayong bibilin Okay? May isa pa tayong bibilin dahil dalawa yung bibilin natin. So ito, we choose one defective laptop out of 3 and number of ways, okay, we choose, okay, one non-defective laptop, okay, out of 17. Kasi kung tatlo dun sa 20 ay defective, then 17 dun ay non-defective. So, for us to find the number of ways that we choose 2 out of 20 laptops, okay? Okay, so for us to find the probability of choosing a defective laptop, okay, we need to find the number of ways we choose one defective laptop out of the 3 na meron doon sa 20, okay, times the number of ways we choose one non-defective laptop out of 17, okay, doon sa 20 na laptops na meron sa retail store, okay, and then we will have to divide that with the number of ways all in all, okay, because that's the ang form kasi nito is more of like n over n, okay, more of like small n over big N. It's the probability, okay. N is the number of ways of the favorable outcome, and n is the total number of ways, okay. So yung numerator natin represents the number of ways that we choose one defective laptop. Kaya lang kasi may dalawang possibility kasi or meron dalawang distinct na dito. Okay? So that is kung makakabili tayo ng or kung mamalasin tayo na meron tayong isang defective na mabibili sa dalawa. Okay? Sa dalawang bibili natin. Yung isa doon defective. Then we have to take a look at the possibility na yung first na mabibili natin is defective. Okay? Tapos ito yung non-defective kasi. Okay? In which we will have to choose one out of the 3. Okay? So, ayun. And then on the second yung para sa second laptop natin, okay, which is non-defective, okay, we will have to choose one non-defective out of the 17, okay, nung natin. So ito yung situation. Kaya ito yung parang partial tree diagram nung numerator natin. Okay? So in this case, as we can see, since parang successive outcomes, okay? We have to multiply. Okay? So sabi ng multiplication rule ng probability, we have to multiply this. Okay? Yung probability dito at saka yung probability dito, we have to multiply this. multiply them to get the total probability. Okay? And the n, the large n or the big N for this, in this case, is that the number of ways that we will be able to choose 2 laptops out of the 20. Okay? So, paano natin i-quantify yung number of ways we choose 1 defective laptop out of the 3? Okay? That is simply, since number of ways we choose. Okay? So, pag number of ways we choose, this is simply a combination problem. Okay? So, which means ito, the number of ways we choose 1 defective laptop out of 3. That translates to 3C1. Okay? That translates to 3C1. Okay? Ito naman, itong second, number of ways we choose 1 non-defective laptop out of 17. That translates to 17C1. Yan. Okay? And then, finally, ito, number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? That is simply, again, number of ways to choose. Okay? So, that's combination. This is 20 combination 2. Okay? So, that gives you the probability of choosing a defective laptop. Okay? So, ngayon, since ang problem natin is actually evolves, okay, from having 0 defective to 1 defective at saka 2 defective. Okay? We can actually write your, kung mapapasin nyo, yung X ngayon dito, yung number of defective is actually nakadepende dito. Okay? Nakadepende dito. But, you also have to remember that this number, okay, itong number na to, okay, is also dependent, nakadepende rin itong number na to doon. Okay? Pansinin nyo. Say for example, let's have the problem as this. The probability of choosing all non-defective laptops. Okay? So, again, ang denominator natin dito, okay, this is still the number of ways we choose 2 laptops out of 20. Okay? Then, since non-defective yung bibili nating laptops, okay, or yung mabibili nating laptops, okay, we will be able to determine the number of ways we choose or we choose 0 defective laptop out of 3. Okay? And the number multiplied to the number of ways we choose 2 non-defective laptops, okay, out of 17.